Shalom Akim. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash. The honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akim, who spread this truth and sincerity. Shalom. So, this video is going to be in transit, and it's going to be about something that actually happened to me yesterday, and it was actually in my spirit yesterday evening a lot, but I was like don't really know how to go into it, so I decided, let me just make an entrance tomorrow so that I'm able to basically speak freely on it, because out of the top of my head there's not really anything concerning scriptures that pop in my mind, but they are just through the spirit. Y'all still going to be edified, but it started off as I was picking up my daughter from the daycare, and on Tuesdays, that's when the daycare requested if it would be possible for my daughter to be picked up a little bit later, because then they're gonna go to this quote-unquote Christian activity center, where there are all these females watching the children, doing stuff with them. And yesterday I came there at that location, and then the daycare said they're further ahead playing with the children. So I was like, okay, cool cat. She did not expect me to be there, that early, because it was there 4:15, and to be picked up, was between quarter to 5 and 5. Is what she told me. But yeah, without digressing too much, I said it's okay, just let her play. But the moment that she said where it was, I was like, hey, let me surprise my daughter. So I went over there, and my daughter was there too, playing with other children on the play yard. And then I asked her, like, what you want to do? You want to go home? We want to play a little bit more. She wanted to play a little bit more. And as we was about to leave, this one Jake woman from Aruba, she happened to be from Aruba, wanted to tell my daughter goodbye, but she couldn't remember her name because she doesn't see her that often. But as I said her name, she said, hey, that really is similar to my name, Moriah. I say, yeah, that's a mountain in Israel. She said, yeah. How do you know? And then we came to the topic of conversation, because I eventually told her that I told her that I preach in the streets, and then I told her the belief that I have of being a Hebrew Israelite, and that the Lord is only coming for his people pursuant to Acts chapter 5, and that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are the true Hebrew Israelites, and that's where for her it was like, huh? Like, that's because the thing is, she explained to me that she and her husband, they don't go to a church, which that's scriptural, because that's what it says in Acts chapter 7, that the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands. So then I said as well, like, yeah, we preach on the streets, and without even being able to explain why, according to the scriptures, she already understood. She already understood according to the scriptures, like, hey, that's what the man of the Lord is supposed to do, and then we got to talking about how we teach in Rotterdam, how we also have a place in Utrecht, and then I decided to give her the camp channel, but she didn't have her phone with her, so I told her the camp channel is GMS South Holland, and then she tried to remember it. And I decided to go back to the activity center before all them females and the children. And then as my daughter still wanted to play, she came later, and then because she forgot her phone, she left her phone, at the center. Then as I was about to leave, she said, "Yeah, it was GMS." I said, "Yeah." And then I said, "If you grab your phone right now, then you can type it in, and then you know for sure that you got the right channel, that you're able to find us." So it is actually quite funny, because during the conversation with this woman, I said, "Yeah," because she was also like, "Yeah, this makes me realize something," and she didn't really say what it was, but I said, "Yeah, these are the last days. The Heavenly Father is basically bringing back His people, which He, for a time, turned to back towards, but now, since the return of Abba Biffins between the 1960s and 1970s, where he started to bring back, the understanding, of Deuteronomy chapter 28, since that time, our people, have an entrance back to the Heavenly Father, through our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai. See, so this woman, she was like, "Hey, this is beautiful, man." And then I inquired of her upon which names she calls, and she says Jesus, man. So her and her husband, they have a zeal, but not according to knowledge yet. They want to do the right thing. They're looking for the right things. They're looking for the truth. Because she said that he is diligently, busy with the scriptures, trying to find out, all them things concerning the scriptures, man. So eventually, without there being too much of any pressure, I told her as well, like, do you have the number of the daycare? If there's any questions or anything like that, you can always, through her, get in contact with me. So, by keeping it light, I basically dropped that seed, in Yahara Tazah. It will be planted, and Yahara Tazah, the Most High, is going to give that increase as well, man. And, that is very important in these latter days, because we're trying to bring back our people, man. Forewarn them of the things that are to come, and make sure that, the blood is washed from off our hands. The conversation that I would have had, with the daycare, which, I don't know whether she's a J, because she says her father is Moab, or, concerning her father's lineage is Moab, but the way that she behaves herself is not really Moab-like, man. But hey, I had a conversation with her about not eating, the unlawful animals, but she says she don't really care about that, because she doesn't have any side effects concerning it. Meanwhile, the daycare woman is sick as hell the whole time. Things with the joints, things with the hands, them pity things that still hurt a lot. So hey, Yahara Tazah, the seed is planted, man. And the conversation that I had with the woman, the moment that she addressed her husband, I said, "Yeah, you can give a channel to your husband, yeah, and then your husband, can get in contact with me, because we ain't about dealing with the women like that, once we find out, that they're dealing with a man, or when the man is not busy with anything concerning the belief of faith, then we might teach the woman at a distance, man. Tell her, "Hey, you can watch the channel." You see, but we ain't gonna spend our time, one-on-one with these females that have an husband, man. The scriptures forewarn us about these things. So the message that the Heavenly Father gave, is going towards the men and is being spoken by men. Yeah, these women, they can have certain positions, being the wife of a prophet, and things like that, or have a position wherein and they need to instruct the younger women, you know, how to behave themselves properly. You see, but other than that, you know, there's not much out there for them, you know, being in the truth, man. You know, instead of, besides basically taking care of their husbands. You see, so, you know, I'm actually quite happy that I encountered this woman, Ayar Taza, you know, her man, you know, welcome back to Yahweh Shem Yahshua, man. You know, because she happened to be from Aruba, you know, and he from Suriname. You know, so I told her as well, like, if you put the Surinamese trefu, which is like, which goes back to the law where it says that we cannot eat the animal that died of itself or that was strangled and things like that. Either one. There, the Hebrew word for that is what they in the Surinamese have as trefu, which means the fish without scales and fins. This bird this bird won a dime, man. Damn, jumping on the street like that in front of my van. So I told her, like, you can look at those similarities and then you'll see that they're actually from the scriptures, man. You know, yet again showing you that, you know, the Spirit itself bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, you see. You know, and if children, then heirs the Most High, man. You know, and joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, man. And that is what we're hoping for, man. You know, to be joint heirs and to make it into the kingdom. You know, and to get a piece of that pie, man. You know, and be, how do you say that? Be redeemed, you know, from our enemies, man. Because you need to understand, like, the life that we live, yeah, you know, we have some nice moments, but for the majority it's effed up, man. It's not a nice world that we live in, though, you know. So yeah, you know, there's not much else that I can say, but Yahar Taza was edifying. You know, one of the things that, you know, is also very important is how we behave ourselves, you know, with people in our surroundings, because you never know, you know, what people are invested in, man. Like, what are they busy with? You know, what do they believe in? You know, and I thought this woman was a Christian, man. A Christian. You know what that means? It means a woman, you know, that that holds the belief of these so-called white people, man. You know, and not in the way, you know, of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, man. So she was in the midst, you know, of all these people. Meanwhile, she doesn't even believe the same thing that they do, man. Because the majority of these people that go there, hey, of course, it's Jake. He got some Esau in there, some purse. But for the majority, you know, when you really think about it, it's Jake out there, man. You know, and she's in the midst of other Jakes, you know, basically believing, you know, she's a Hebrew Israelite, and that she is, how you say that? And that the so-called white people are not, you know what I mean? So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. That's why you never know, man. But hey, the Spirit, it's even more funny, because back in the days, the Spirit had the brother Taz Bashar in GMS South Holland, you know, speak on certain things. Meanwhile, he was like, hey, this is actually risky to talk about it with this guy, because I don't know him. I don't know him that well. You know, meanwhile, I'm speaking things with him concerning the truth, you know, which, you know, he might, you know, he might talk about he might talk about me teaching and things like that while we are in the MMA gym. And meanwhile, I never did those things. But it was the Heavenly Father that moved us into that conversation. And Yahar Taza, the Heavenly Father, moved me into the conversation, you know, with this woman when I picked up my daughter from the daycare, so that she can bring the message of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, you know, to her husband, man. You know, Yahar Taza, you know, it's going to be some fruit, man. You see, but hey, like I said, it's Yahar Tazar. You know, and we never know, man. But hey, all we can do is drop that seed and make sure that the blood is washed from our hands. Because what does it say in Ezekiel? Where did they, I don't know, man. It's like, yeah. Whether they were here or for bear, that was it. They should know that the prophet had been among them. You know, they're gonna find out that day, you know, it was actually the Heavenly Father, you know, handing out that hand, man, stretching forth that hand. Hey, here you have access, you know. And it might even be the case that they put up a prayer, man. They put up a prayer to, you know, to be enlightened, or to, you know, the Heavenly Father just used me as a, you know, mediator in that moment, you know, to reach out. You never know, man. That's why, you know, it is very important how we behave ourselves as well in the midst of, you know, other people. Which that is a little cut to myself, because at the job sometimes, man, I'm vexed and stressed, man. You know, I am vexed and stressed sometimes, which, you know, I say that the reactions that I have sometimes can be a little bit overkill, man. You know, but hey, you know, we're working on those things as well, man. We're working on those things. You know, but with that, you know, I do hope and pray, you know, that this video is edifying. And with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakadash, the honors to the Alba Apostles of Great Millstone, who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akyam, spread his truth and sincerity. Shalom.